Hello, ChiefsRaysBolts here. I am joined alongside a special guest today for a video. We have JP Peterson. He's the host of the JP Peterson Show and the host of Lightning Hockey Night Live for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, pretty big voice here. Very prominent here in the moving the Rays to Tampa whole kind of community, the whole movement of trying to get the Rays to Tampa. Very big voice in the community. So it's very important to have this video out here the way I see it. And JP, thank you so much for taking the time to join me here today. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah, my pleasure. Good to be with you. I know you're a passionate baseball fan, so wherever we can get the message out about bringing the Rays to Tampa, I'm here for it.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to start off, just get straight to the point. As far as you know, what are the current stages of the stadium talks for the Rays?
Well, as far as I can tell, and there have been points in this process where I've been very plugged into what's going on at that time, and there have been other points where there's not a whole lot of chitter chatter. And I think right now we're at one of those points where there's not a whole lot of chitter chatter going on. Either way, and that could be a really good sign that things are moving forward and everybody wants to keep it on the down low, or it could be a bad sign that everybody's so sick of each other they just don't want to talk anymore. And it's things are going well. I know that's not giving anybody a lot to go on, but my gut feeling is that eventually, and we'll talk more details about it, but I've never wavered that eventually I believe the stadium is going to be built in Tampa. It's the most obvious and easy answer. It's crazy that it has not been done yet before. So, but here we are, and I still believe eventually he's going to get it because money. Yeah, follow the money, and the most money can be made in downtown Tampa. It's ripe and ready for opportunity, and when it comes down to money, and it usually does, that's where decisions are made. So
It is really weird how, we as Tampa, the city, it's one of the fastest growing cities in the
right,
country. I mean, name another city that has two big cities right next to each other. We're talking Tampa and Orlando, right? Two major cities connected via interstate for convenience. Name
yeah.
another market that would bring in more money than if the Rays would just move to Tampa.
Well, and
So,
that's the whole point of this. When you start talking about predicting the future and where's it going to go, and it's so overwhelmingly a better opportunity to be in Tampa because you mentioned Orlando. Orlando is the 18th largest market in America. The 18th. It's a top 20 market, and it's growing, ever growing. We in Tampa Bay are the 11th largest market. And when you combine the two, and when you're looking at a baseball region, I mean, typically you look at Colorado, you look at Kansas City, some of the best drawing teams, you look at St. Louis. They draw from such a wide area. You're talking two, 3, even 4 hours away. You've got regular fans coming there. But when you talk about Tampa and Orlando and St. Petersburg, there in that I-4 corridor, there's almost, I think, 7 million people now, 7 or 8 million people, and it's the fastest growing area in America. Why in the world would baseball want to leave a market like this? Major League Baseball is made up of all the owners, the 30 owners, and they all collectively make money on this league. And you're always in search of owning that prime property, which is, of course, 7 million people in this market. When you count the major metropolitan, Orlando and Tampa are going to be conjoined here within the next 10 years. It's going to become one major city, much like it is from South Miami to Jupiter now on the East Coast. So, there's no way baseball wants to leave here. It's just a matter of getting the deal done in kind of a piecemeal way because, unfortunately, we can't use the 7 million people to help throw in to build a stadium. There's not been a model like that ever done. So one county is going to have to risk the money, so to speak, and bring together the private partnership with the Rays, and that's the way it should be done. That's the way it was done so successfully in Atlanta, and that's the way it should be done here.
you know, obviously not too long ago, the whole sister city plan, which was total BS. Nobody wanted that.
No.
was killed off by Major League Baseball, which was obviously
Right.
a great day for Tampa fans. Do you think Stu was actually planning on going through with that? Because here's the thing, right? Maybe it was just at the beginning, Rob Manfred, baseball, they just saw it kind of as like a business tactic, a scare tactic
Right.
into leaving. Didn't really realize that Stu was being fully serious about actually trying a concept like that. Do you think Major League Baseball maybe panicked there last second, thinking, "Oh, well, maybe he's for real on this"?
Well, I think it's a very interesting question and very interesting to see how the whole thing went down. I think the first thing you have to realize is who Stu Sternberg is and Brian Auld and Matt Silverman. These are all super highly intelligent guys, and they also, they want to be the smartest guys in the room, right? They always want to be the smartest guy in the room. We revolutionized baseball. We showed you how to win on a shoestring budget. We're the ultimate Moneyball story. That's who they think they are. That's how they view themselves. So the next step for them is, okay, let's do something in sports that's never been done before. Like that's really cutting edge. Let's do two. Why should baseball, with as many games as they have, all be played in one market? Why shouldn't you just, Canadians move down for the winter and then they go back, right? Why can't we do this with a baseball team? And it's so hot down here in the summer. Why don't we move up to where it's nice? So this is real cutting edge stuff. So yeah, he was serious, and I think he was very serious about the Tampa deal when they presented it in 2018. And then somebody came in his ear and said, "Hey, you ever think about this? You ever think about getting two stadiums and two markets and three television contracts instead of just one? You could have the English and the Canadian speaking one in Canada, and you can have your own mark. So you'd have three TV contracts, which of course is where all the money is." And okay, well that's never been done before. And I could just see Stu and that brain trust. And I'm not saying this is a negative way. That's how they see themselves, and they really still believe it's an idea that will eventually come to be. And they were just men that were before their time. But be that as it may, it was never going to work with the union ever. It was dead on arrival, and the union was going to have to agree to it, right? To move their players up there, to move families in the middle of the stuff. And the union was, and obviously we were going to the collective bargaining situation. So I said this on my radio show months in advance. I said, this is why this will never work, because the players are going to come to the owners and say, hey, okay, what about this the sister city deal? What are you going to give us if our players agree to do this if they play for this team? And the other 29 owners are going, well, I'm not going to give up anything for Stu Sternberg. Why am I going to collectively bargaining here, give up something big to the players when I'm not going to benefit as a whole? Screw that.
Yeah.
So the owners weren't behind it. The players weren't behind it. And so he was left hanging out to dry. And I understand, again, I applaud their forward thinking, and maybe, 10, 15 years from now, it'll be a thing. But right now, it's not a thing. And the Rays were not equipped to be able to pull it off. They tried, and I give them, credit, whatever. It's just for so many reasons that we don't have to get into now. It was never going to work. And the fans in neither city were going to like it in the end. It just wasn't. The time is not right for it. So, and if you look at it in terms of that, yes, they were very serious about it. But the damage they did in all the bull crap that they put out there, about this is not a major league market. This market can't sustain a team full time. We've tried. It didn't work. We got to find something new. And then Major League Baseball says, sorry, you can't do it. Oh, but we love you again. We think this is a major league market. We really love. That was just a little dalliance with, some little trollop up in Montreal. Oh, don't think anything about it. Don't worry about her. I love you again. So let's get a new stadium. I mean, come on, seriously. But
it would have made things awkward too, having after 21 the Lightning beating Montreal in the Cup there would have definitely made tensions awkward between the two cities. But I mean, do you think this is something that could be done with like two relatively close cities, like maybe for instance Tampa and Orlando? Because I mean, this is different countries over 1,000 miles apart from each other, so. It just, on paper, it seemed like a ridiculous concept, and I don't think a single fan was buying it or interested in it. A lot of fans even saying that they wouldn't be fans of the Rays anymore, because it's like, why would you only have a girlfriend part-time, We're
Right.
still gonna love her part time. Like, no, it doesn't really work like that.
Eventually, the two are not going to coexist. We know this, right?
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
but the thing is, when you talk about Orlando and Tampa, which is interesting, right? Why can't they be sister cities, right? And I think that's not a bad idea at all. In fact, if I'm the Rays, and hopefully there's a new owner, and you buy the Rays, and you say, you know what, we want to be kind of the I-4 Rays. This is why we're moving the stadium from St. Petersburg to Tampa, closer to the people that we love in Orlando, and we really want to embrace Orlando and Tampa, and we're now going to be called Tam Orlando, the Orlampa Ray. I mean, whatever we want to call it. The I-4 Rays, we'll
Yes.
call them, right? Whatever we want to call it. And it'll be your team, it'll be our team, it'll be the Florida Rays. Okay, we'll just include everybody. Since the Marlins don't want Florida, we'll take the rest of Florida. You can have Miami. So now be the Florida Rays. And we really, bring in Orlando as a sister city. Go play. They have a minor league field, a beautiful Disney stadium over there. In fact, the Rays have played some major league games over there. They played 2 series for a couple of years, right? Over in Disney.
Yeah.
So why not, take a couple series a year and move them to Orlando? Maybe a couple series early in the year. They have outdoors. The weather would be nicer. So yeah, and then you really will have an Orlando season ticket plan. And I think that's the way I would market the team. I would totally market the team. Then you could take advantage of, because Orlando is, it's 60 miles away, 60, 70 miles away. And all that area in between is going to be, in the next 10 years, all built up. Millions of more people are going to move in. So yeah, that's I think you could really work those two markets together. At least if I was the owner of the Rays, that's how I would market the team.
And there's no doubt that you could certainly get in some business talks with some of those big time Orlando companies. Disney in their own,
Right.
that's a big one. They sponsor the Magic,
Right.
So who's to say they wouldn't sponsor the Rays or be a big part of their funding if they were to play in Orlando? That's what I mean.
Absolutely.
We're comparing businesses in Tampa and Orlando. Yeah.
The Bright Line train is coming right down I-4. I'm not exactly sure when that's supposed to be operational, maybe 2026, but that would be about the same time where the stadium would be done.
Yeah.
So, a direct line, express line from Orlando to Tampa, and I think you're going to get a ton more fans coming over for that.
And another major part as to why it's so pivotal to get the Rays on the other side of the bridge is the population within a 30-minute drive of the stadium. I'm sure you've seen that statistic thrown out many times. The Rays have the lowest in the league. The second lowest is the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they have over double the population within a 30-minute drive that the Rays do.
Yeah, this has always been the problem, and people want to say St. Pete is still in the running. Well, I can tell you this: Major League Baseball does not want to build another stadium in St. Pete. So if Stu Sternberg is going to do a deal in St. Petersburg, he's got to accept the fact that he's never going to draw more than 1.5 million fans. It's just never going to happen. I don't care how nice the ballpark is. It's just demographics. There's 600,000 people within a 30-minute drive because it's surrounded by water. Okay, it's just the way it is. That's never going to change in St. Petersburg. And there's 2.4 million people within a 30-minute drive of downtown Tampa. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Again, as you move closer to Orlando, within an hour's drive now, you've got 6 to 7 million people, as opposed to 600,000. Well, let me think. Well, you think we would get more people to come to the games? The state-of-the-art stadium, with that much closer to millions more people? Let me think. Yeah, I think you would probably increase attendance. I mean, it's so freaking obvious. It's even stupid to think that anybody actually thinks there's any other solution. But whatever.
I agree. I think it's absolute. Just it's really ridiculous. Like you said,
you're going to put $1 billion stadium in the same failed location that you tried to when you're going to World Series and people aren't showing up. Guess why? You're in the middle of nowhere, and the people that live around the stadium don't even go to the games. So it's just, and then this owner wants to charge $70 for an outfield ticket on a Wednesday night. I mean, who the hell?
Towards the attendance, yeah.
No, who's going to spend $200 in tickets and food for a Wednesday night Minnesota game, or even if it's the Red Sox or Yankees? That's crazy for an outfield ticket. Come on.
It's no coincidence that the Rays didn't lower ticket prices until after they had already played the remaining Yankees and Red Sox games for the year. It was what, the final 3 series of the season that they finally were like, okay, here you go, like $9, $10 tickets, whatever.
Right, exactly. And of course, it's
No
about the same time,
coincidence.
all Twitter, Ray's Twitter's going crazy about the price of the tickets. That's something I think we've really done on our show that they've not done on any other shows. We literally go on the show every day and go onto the website and say, okay, the cheapest ticket tonight or a bad outfield ticket tonight is $60 plus fees. We go when we check the prices, and the Rays would say, no, the Rays put out this like fake grid that showed, they had some of the cheapest prices against all the other teams. I don't know who produced that piece of social media artwork, but it was complete bullcrap. And it kept making the rounds of like, all these people complaining about ticket prices. Look at this nice graphic we found that compares the ticket prices to all the other teams. And it was like parking at the Trop was $5. No, it's
I know
not.
what grid you're talking about. I did see that
Yeah,
one. They were saying how like the parking exactly.
$3.
It was all inaccurate because I'm a Rays fan. I go to multiple games a year at the Trop. I know for a fact it's inaccurate. So, yeah,
completely.
Yeah, there was something else I can't quite remember right now, but we'll just leave it at that. As far as right now, JP, I got to know, what is your preferred stadium location for the Tampa Bay Rays?
I think it has to be downtown in Ybor City. I know a lot of people like the fairgrounds, and that's closer to Orlando, and I get that, but it's not that much closer. It's not that big a deal, especially with Brightline coming in. They're not going to stop at the fairgrounds. They're not going to put a stop there. So it's got to come all the way into downtown. So you would effectively take away the whole reason you have Brightline, to bring people to downtown Tampa. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So that's a negative on the fairgrounds. And then the other thing about baseball is it's the Monday to Thursday night games that you have to worry about. The Friday, Saturday, Sunday games, people will drive. It's not a big deal. Even the Trop, gets decent crowds on the weekends. But it's that Monday through Thursday that you got to get people coming right from work that live in the area. And there's a lot of more people living in downtown Tampa now and around downtown Tampa. So many more apartments. I live in one. So many more condos that have gone up. I mean, the resident population of downtown Tampa has probably gone up by 5 times in the last 10 years. So you got to have people that are right there. They're leaving work and going to the games, and then going home. Kind of something more like that, or just going home real quick and then going to the game. Probably not going to stay for the whole game. It's a school night. You might just go for 6:30 first pitch to 8:30. Probably won't even stay for the end of the game. But those tickets count, right? They count, and you can get. You want to get. I think at Tampa, it'd be reasonable to say you want to get 16 to 18,000 on the weeknights, and then on the weekends fill it up 30,000. I think that's totally doable.
With the current location of Tropicana Field, no family wants to drive. Every local's worst nightmare is the Howard Franklin Bridge. So nobody wants to drive over that on a weekday just to go watch a baseball game. And they're not even going to get home, cross the bridge back home. A lot of these people are from the suburbs, Lute, Land Lakes, Wesley Chapel areas, and they're not going to get home until past midnight. They got work the next morning. They got kids to take to school the next morning, right? It's a big mess for families that want to take their kids to the games.
And that's why baseball has that rule about stadiums with 1.5 million people within 30-minute drive. That's why they have that rule, just because of those Monday through Thursday night games. So and that's why they told the Rays, or in the city of St. Petersburg, don't build a stadium, because we don't want to bring it. We love to give your area a team, but we can't do it in St. Petersburg because there's only 600,000, probably back then 450,000 people within a 30-minute drive. Our minimum is 1.5 million, but they went ahead and built the stadium anyway. And then Vince Namoli basically sued his way into getting a team. Very brilliant move that he did. Baseball did not want to go to court against him because he was charging them with fraud for dangling, St. Petersburg as a carrot for the White Sox and the Giants to get new stadiums. And so he would have won that lawsuit, and it would have opened up baseball's books, which they never want to go to court. So that's how Vince got the team, and that's how it went to St. Petersburg. But Bud Selig said at the time eventually the team is going to be in Tampa. Like that was always, they're probably going to play for 10 to 15 years at the Trop and then move to Tampa. And then Stu bought the team and got the lease that he sees as favorable for him to make more money if he, takes it all the way to the end. That's how he can make the most money. So that's why he's been jerking around in Tampa, jerking around with the Sister City deal, and now he's jerking around the new mayor here. He's not going to get a deal done until he absolutely has to at the last minute, and that's probably another year away.
With the Miami Marlins, they get a brand new stadium. It's downtown. This is 15 years ago, and the attendance down there still isn't very impressive. So do you think the teams in Major League Baseball, Stu, you think these people are looking at Miami, for example, and just because they're Florida as well, disregarding the fact that, these two cities are completely different cultures, different populations, right? They take different sports seriously, whatnot. Do you think they're looking at Miami as an example just because, well, it's Florida, and this didn't work for Miami, so...
That is the dumbest thing ever, and I hear this all the time. Well, Florida's a bad baseball market. And I say, no, it's not. It has nothing to do with Florida. And Miami has nothing to do with Tampa. As you said, we are two completely different cities, completely different layouts, completely different demographics. And just because we're in the same state, because somebody drew a line and said this would be the state line, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
We're closer. New York and Boston are closer than Tampa and Miami. So you got to think about it. And they're just two completely different places, right? So. Only outsiders lump us together as Florida's bad. You look at what the Marlins did. They did it wrong from the very beginning. They played in a football stadium. They played in a terrible, terrible football stadium that was out past the suburbs. It was a terrible way to do baseball. And that's not the way you want to do it. You want to have a downtown park or something that's in the middle of the area or closest to your fan base is what I would say. And what the Marlins should have done is built that stadium in Fort Lauderdale. That's the middle of the market. Miami is the southern part of the market, right? So this is analogous to us moving it from St. Petersburg to Tampa. They moved it from a suburb out west where nobody lives, and a football stadium at that, and a bad, ugly build out, right, for the Marlins. That never felt like a baseball stadium. So they did it wrong from the very beginning. Then they built a park in the southern part of that. Would be like building a new park in St. Petersburg. Why would you want to build it on the southern part of the market where not a lot of those people are going to be able to afford to go to the games? I mean, there's affluent people in South Miami and some of the Miami Beach area, but most of that is not. That's a very poor demographic there. They're not going to be able to afford baseball tickets. So if they would have moved to the middle of the market in Fort Lauderdale, it would have been much more successful. Built a downtown stadium right on the New River, a beautiful on the water, close to the beach, Las Olas area. I mean, that would have been amazing. You'd have people coming from Miami, you'd have people come from West Palm, Jupiter, the whole, East Coast. But instead, they stuck it in South Miami in a bad neighborhood, and they've done it wrong from the very beginning. We don't have to make that same mistake, right? We can put ours in the middle of the market, state-of-the-art stadium, have mass transit coming there, 3.5 million people within a 30-minute drive, another 3.5 million people within an hour's drive. I mean, again, this is a no freaking brainer.
I want to go back to Stu and you talking about how he's going to wait till the last minute until he absolutely has to do something. Now, I'm trying to think of a scenario in which he waits too long, and now you only have a few years, maybe just a couple, to get a stadium. What happens at that point when the lease is up at the Trop, and now you have nowhere to go when that lease is up? Are you going to have to play at a minor league park? Or are you going to have to play in...
No, honestly, they could stay at the Trop another year. They could redo the lease.
I guess,
yeah. What's another year, right? But I think he wants to get out. But I think he maxes out his value of the redevelopment rights if he takes it up to 2027. So you figure out if they do a deal by the end of this year, all right, so you say January 1, 2023, the Braves built their stadium and the surrounding battery in about 3 years. So you would say, 2026, and certainly by 2027, you'd be ready to play. So I'd say that's why I say he's got about a year, and to kind of agree to everything and then move it forward.
I've heard you talk about in the past a relocation fee if the team were to move out of market. What is that fee?
The last published one I saw was $1 billion, and I think that's probably low because if the Rays move, say the Rays move to Nashville, right? Baseball wants to expand by 2 teams, right? So Nashville is a primary target. They think that's a great market. Las Vegas is another market the baseball is looking at. Charlotte, the new North Carolina market, and I think Portland is another market. So they've got 4 to 5 markets that they want to compete to get the 2 expansion teams. So because that expansion money is divvied up amongst all the owners. So I think this expansion fee is going to be $2 billion. So I mean, so that's $4 billion that all the other 30 owners are going to get a piece of. Well, and so what they don't want to do is, let the Rays move from what is a fertile market for baseball that they don't want to lose, right? We talked about that. Major League Baseball does not want to lose this market. And why would they if they didn't have to? They're just and all the other owners, by the way, have to agree to allow Stu to move. So everything that he's asking to do is counter to their best interests, these other owners. So, and they're all sick of his deal anyway, giving him revenue sharing money while he kicks their ass. So you got to look at the money side of this. Why would the other owners agree to let them move and only get $1 billion in a relocation fee when they could be charging Nashville $2 billion for an expansion fee? Now you may say, we can move to another market and that market will pay whatever. Then you get an extra $1 billion, but then you lose this market. So it just, I don't see the upside for the other owners to allow him to relocate. And why would Stu want to spend $1 billion to relocate when he could build a stadium in Tampa and have most of it paid for by other sources, and certainly from the money that he's already taken out of the team. I mean, that would be a stupid business move. And there's one thing you could say about Stu: he's not a stupid businessman.
See, to you and I, it's so obvious that this is the only viable market for the Rays. Where else would they be successful? Where else would they make as much money as they would in Tampa? You look at the Lightning, you look at the Bucks, they get great attendance. Tampa is a hockey town. On paper, we should be the opposite. We're blazing hot, summertime, but we love hockey. Like, we are a market that supports our sports teams, and we haven't been able to showcase that. Yeah.
If he moves to Nashville, okay, he has to pay $1 billion relocation fee.
Right.
Right. So, and then even if Nashville pays for the whole stadium, you're still out $1 billion.
Yes.
When you can move to Tampa essentially for free, right? And then so now you got to spend, say you have to put in half, $450 million for the new stadium. Okay. He's already taken $500 million out of the Rays operating fund and put that, according to lawsuit, put that into another company. So he's got $500 million cash, and Lord knows how much more. That's just if he's moved over there. So he's got the money to build a stadium or pay his half of the stadium already. And all the revenue that's going to come in from that stadium, he's going to make up. If you look at the Braves model, I mean, the Braves have paid their part of the stadium in probably in 5 years because of the increased revenue that they've made at this new place. And then they're going to have, and so everything, north of that is gravy for them. And so Stu could look at that and say, well, in the first 4 or 5 years, my revenues are going to go up so much because I have many more fans coming. I have actual luxury boxes I can sell, premium seating I can sell, year-round access to the stadium, all events, stuff like that. I can do all this different stuff and make all this money off the stadium. And if you think about it, even if he mortgages his part of the stadium, that's about $25 million a year. The Braves' revenues in the first year went up by $131 million. $131 million in the first year they were in their new stadium. And it cost them $25 million a year. I mean, I'm not the smartest businessman in the world, but I'd say that's a pretty good investment.
Now, we're running low on time. I got the free Zoom trial thing, so it's kicking us off in about 5 minutes. So I'm just gonna end it with one last question here. Ultimately, what do you think is the most realistic scenario? What will happen in your mind to the Rays come time?
Well, I think it depends on the lawsuit. If the lawsuit goes forward to a jury trial, that will mean the Rays books will be exposed publicly. To some degree, Major League Baseball's finances will be in discovery and depositions. Major League Baseball does not want that to ever happen. So if this does go to a jury trial, and the original decision by the judge was that one of the counts would go forward, Major League Baseball will have to do something with Stu to make sure that they sever ties with him or whatever. They're gonna have to do something, but there's no way he's going to be able to move forward as the owner if that happens. So I think that's a big part of it. And if he's forced to sell, new ownership will come in, and that deal will get done overnight because it makes a ton of sense. So yeah, I think that it depends on if they lose the case, if the partners lose the case, and Stu still has control. I think it's very likely that he sells the team within the next year and lets somebody else deal with the stadium. He walks away probably with $1.2 billion, in profit, and it went in something he's already probably taken out, maybe $500 to $700 million already in management fees and profits and whatever. Who knows? Nobody knows. But yeah, he walks away and he wins. But I don't know. He's pretty young to do that. He may want to go invest in another team. Who knows? But I don't think Major League Baseball is going to move forward with him. And if they do, he's going to have to pay for half the stadium.
JP, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you going through with this. So,
all right, yeah,
on that,
you got it, buddy.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too.